In this video, I'm going to show you my process on how I mix audio for TikTok, Instagram Reels, and all of that great stuff. But before we get started, my name is Ed, you're watching Stokes Sounds, and if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. And if you want to support the channel, head over to our website, stokessounds.com. Now let's dive in. So I've got a track here. It's by an artist called Niall Connor. He's an amazing singer, and he came to me because he wanted some new social media content for, TikTok, Instagram, and he wanted to record some covers, and here we are. So this is the cover that I've got loaded up here. It's a Justin Bieber One Less Lonely Girl, so very nostalgic for people of my age, between 20 and 30s. You'll remember this from back in the day. But let's actually just take a listen to, what we recorded on the day, and then I'm going to break down the mix of what I did. So here we go.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you cried on before. And many promises, be honest girl, how many tears you let hit the floor? How many bags you packed just to take them back? Tell me that, how many either ors, but no more. If you let me inside of your world, there'll be one less lonely girl. Oh, I saw so many pretty faces before I saw you. Now all I see is you. I'm coming for you. No, don't need these other pretty faces. Like I need you. Where you might in the world. It's gonna be one less lonely girl. One less lonely girl. One less lonely girl. One less lonely girl. It's gonna be one less lonely girl. And I'm gonna put you first. And I'll show you what you're worth. If you let me inside of your world, there'll be one less lonely girl.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the end of day rough mix that we had, and then we're going to go back to my final mix that we got that he actually put out on TikTok and all of the social medias.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you cried on before. And many promises, be honest girl, how many tears you let hit the floor? How many bags you packed just to take them back? Tell me that, how many either ors, but no more. If you let me inside of your world, there'll be one less lonely girl. Oh, I saw so many pretty faces before I saw you. Now all I see is you. I'm coming for you. No, don't need these other pretty faces. Like I need you. Where you might in the world. There's gonna be one less lonely girl. One less lonely girl. One less lonely girl. One less lonely girl. There's gonna be one less lonely girl. And I'm gonna put you first. And I'll show you what you're worth. Let me inside of your world. There'll be one less lonely girl.
So as you heard there, when I went back to my mix, which is A, and the rough mix on B, you'll find that my mix is a lot wider, it's brighter, it's bigger, it's got more depth, and it just sounds kind of clearer. And it's really important, especially when artists, especially when they're up and coming, and they want to, bring their best kind of music forward to the general public. You want to have that kind of professional pop sheen quality, and that's what I was given now in this case. The rough mix still sounds good, but the final mix sounds much better, and that's going to translate better on all sorts of systems when you play that out on your phone and all of that stuff. So let's actually now break down what I did in my process, the vocal chain, the mastering, and how I achieved it and how I got to that level of where it was the final mix. So first up, if we take a look at the lead vocal, we're just going to solo it for now so you can really hear what that lead vocal sounds like.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you cried on before.
So, it was recorded well. It was recorded on a Neumann U87 into a Neve 1073 with a little bit of compression on the Stam 33609. That's just giving me like 1 or 2 dB of compression just before I hit the box. But what I did do, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, is I've done a lot of clip gaining before that you're seeing it here. So I clip gain to level out the vocal just to make sure that I'm working with something that's, a good source. It's leveled, it's balanced, the emotions there in the lyrics. You really want those lyrics to kind of pop out in certain places, and all of that sort of stuff. So it's really important to kind of focus on getting everything correct before you apply any processing. Now, I'm just going to bypass the plugins that I did have. So I had a de-esser on here first. The de-esser is one of my favorite de-essers by Waves that I use a lot, and it's just, you know, the Waves de-esser. And I think I've just got it on the standard preset. I don't think I changed it. So if we just bypass it and have a listen to what this is doing.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you. How many tears you let hit the floor? How many bags you packed just to take them back? Tell me that. How many either ors, but no.
So you can hear it's subtle. It's just catching those S's in the vocal. As I say, I manually did de-ess it as well with clip gain, but this is just getting any peaks of those S's that I may have missed or that, you know, was just a little bit too much. And this plugin is just adding that control. Then after that, I then hit some compression. I'm just using the standard R compressor. I'm not changing any presets on this apart from making the ratio 2:1 and just medium attack, medium release. And this is just controlling that vocal. It's just leveling it. It's, you know, a pop vocal. You want it to sit forward in the mix, but you also don't want it to be like crazy. You want it to be controlled. So the bits that I'm doing now is pure, you know, just controlling that vocal before, you know, I'm applying any additive stuff or any kind of other things that are going to make things, you know, brighter and better. And that's just the R comp on here. And again, we're just leveling it out. So if we have a listen with this on and off, you'll hear what that's doing.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you cried on before. How many promises, be honest girl? How many tears you let hit the floor? How many bags you packed just to take them back? Tell me that. How many either ors, but no more. If you let me inside of your world, there'll be one less lonely girl. Oh.
You can hear there, it's barely touching it. You know, when he said one less lonely girl at the end of that line there, you know, on the lonely girl, he kind of moved forward a bit and you can see that it was the threshold was ducking that slightly. And again, that's just a little bit of gain reduction just to control that level. Then after that, I then go into some Magma BB channel. And this is just, you know, adding a little bit of brightness. Now, I use this EQ, one, because it's simple. I don't want to over process. And two, you know, it's got everything I need. It's got, you know, a bass, mids and a high. You know, I just control the tonality of his vocal, so I'm just, you know, doing you know, vocal tonal shaping with EQ before I go into any compression or any like actual compression that I'm using from a saturation point of view. So here, you know, I'm just boosting some high end, taking out some 331, which would just be room boxiness, and I left the bass and I've just got a high pass 60 hertz just to take out any room rumble and a little bit of saturation. So let's just have a listen with this on and off and you'll hear what it's doing.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you cried on before. How many promises, be honest girl? How many tears you let hit the floor? How many bags you packed just to take them back? Tell me that. How many either ors, but no more. If you let me inside of your world, there'll be one less lonely girl.
So you heard there, you know, it's adding the vocal, making that a little bit more forward. It's adding a bit of brightness, taking out some boxiness. So just tonal shaping, just making it more pleasant to the ear. I'm not doing much at all. I did have a tiny bit of compression on. And again, that was just to control the peaks and the attack and just, again, smooth it out. You know, very, very little compression, probably 1 dot.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you cried on before. How many promises, be honest girl?
I'm not even doing any gain reduction. So, you know, really I could have not done that move. I don't know why I did that move. I just go with the flow and what I'm feeling on the day. But, you know, it felt right to me, so I just left it. But you can see everything is so subtle. Then I just go into UAD LA2A and love this compressor. Sounds great on male vocals. And one thing that I'm doing with this compressor, some people compress and they just want to absolutely slam the vocal. I use these as like tonal boxes. So this UAD LA2A version, it has a sound to it and it really works well on male vocals. And look, we've got a male vocalist, so let's try it out. And that's what I did and I went with it, but I'm probably only doing a couple of dB of compression. I still want life in that vocal. I don't just want to slam it. You know, if the record isn't super dense and, you know, it's very open, it's a piano, it's for social media, TikTok, and, you know, you want it to have that organic feel as well. You don't want to sit there and start slamming your vocals, you know, 20 dB of gain reduction. You can, there is a time and a place to do it. But with this, I felt like I wanted it to be a little bit more open and just a little bit, you know, have a bit more kind of life to it. So if you have a listen with this on and off, you'll hear what this is doing.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you cried on before. How many promises, be honest, girl? How many tears you let hit the floor? How many bags you packed just to take them back? Tell me that. How many either ors, but no more. If you let me inside of your world, there'll be one less.
So you can really hear that, that compressor is adding kind of some top end to the vocal, which is nice. You could boost top end on an EQ, but why not use a compressor for its harmonic saturation? So it's kind of EQing that vocal for you. So, there are different things to think about. I went with this one. I really liked the way that this compressor works on Niall's voice. He has, quite a raspy kind of high end kind of pop vocal sound, and this kind of really just adds a nice flavor to his tonality and his voice. So, it's about finding compressors that work with the singers that you're given. This LA2A may not always work on a female voice. It may do, but depending on the voice and the style, you may want to go for a Fairchild or an 1176 style compressor. So, there are different compressors for different things at different stages of the mix. And I don't want to get too kind of technical about it, because at the end of the day, it's what's playing back to you and your ears. But again, with this mix, it just felt right, so I went with it. And that is the lead vocal kind of sound. You can see there's not much going on as far as plugin processing going on, because I've really taken care of taking out the clicks, the pops, and all of that kind of, clip gain stuff before I'm applying any processing. And two things with that: one, it stops you from over processing the vocal, and two, a plugin doesn't have a brain like the human brain. We have things like AI these days, which is going to be coming out, and of course it's going to change the game. But a plugin doesn't have emotion. Mixing is about emotion. I keep saying this because it's so true. A plugin won't know when to go on a certain word to push that out, and how much compression to use at that certain word. So what I'm doing is I'm giving my brain power to the compressor with clip gain, and then the compressor is just like my assistant. It's just helping me control what was in my brain before I applied any other processing. So there's those things to think about, and I think that's really important to get a really kind of great mix, a good mix to a great mix. It's about having that thought process before you just start adding plugin after plugin after plugin, which I see time and time again. So, take that on board and try that in your next mix. With this case, after that kind of lead vocal was then done, I then have that to a lead vocal bus. And on the lead vocal bus, I have it going through the Abbey Road saturator, which I really like. And this is actually giving me, again, a little bit more high end and just a little bit more grit to the dirt. As you heard there, I mentioned that his voice was a little bit, got a little bit of a rasp to it, and I wanted to bring out that harmonic within his voice. So this plugin just made it a little bit more kind of dirty and a bit more kind of I don't know how to explain that in words, but it just gave me a good vibe that I liked. So if we have a listen with this on and off, you'll hear what it's actually doing in the mix.
Many I told you and start overs and showed us if you cried on before. How many promises, be honest, girl? How many tears you let hit the floor? How many bags you packed just to take them back? Tell me that. How many either ors, but no more. If you let me inside of your world, there'll be one less lonely girl.
So you heard that it's not really doing much. It's very subtle. It's just giving me a little bit of boost around that 3K mark, which I don't always boost, but it just felt right with this song. And I've got the blend on whatever it's on, 17%. So you're barely hearing it. If I boost that all the way up, you'll hear.
Many I told you and start overs and showed us if you cried on before. How many promises, be honest, girl? How many tears?
Again, it's just adding a little bit of subtle high end and a little bit of kind of crispiness to the vocal, which I like. And that is it. That is all the plugins for the main vocal. And then we just got the vocal effects. Now, the vocal effects, I'm using kind of my template, which I've demonstrated before. We've got a chorus going on, which is just a Dimension D Studio. I've got all buttons pushed in with a bit of EQ going on to take out some low and high end, and a little bit of imaging just to kind of push the double out, so it's not a way of the lead vocal, the mono vocal that's in the middle. That's just a way for me to thicken up the vocal and get the vocal to sound a little bit more expensive. Even though it was done on an expensive chain, why not make it even more expensive? So you can't go wrong with that. So if we have a listen to kind of what that is doing in the mix.
Many I told you and start overs and showed us if you cried on before. How many promises, be honest, girl? How many tears you let hit the floor?
Just giving him a bit of thickness, making it sound a bit more confident as well, and I like that. And then I go into some sort of plate reverb. I don't remember exactly what plate reverb or reverb I used. It may have been a plate, it may not have, but yes, it was. It was the UAD Pure Plate fantastic plugin, love it. It was probably sent to me once and I just tried it and it worked, and I really like the way that it kind of just fits with Niall's voice. It just kind of sounds good. So if we have a listen to how that sounds.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you cried on before. And many promises, be honest girl, how many tears you let hit the floor.
It's got quite a long, reverb time in it, and, it kind of really hugs that vocal. It's giving that kind of ambient effect on the vocal. It's putting that vocal in a space that sounds cool to my ears, so I went with it. And then I just add some EQ just to control kind of the low end, the boxiness. I really hate low end in reverb. When you have super high end in reverb, it just sounds cheap and horrible. When you have too much low end, it just sounds muddy. So you've got to get that middle ground, that mid range that people always fight for to get kind of perfect. If you get, start EQing your returns, you'll find that, you're going to get a better mix, you're going to get more clarity, you're going to get, more great things are going to happen that you're going to hear back out your speakers. So definitely take a look at that. Then after that, we go into another reverb. I've got it called as Bracasti. I don't own a Bracasti, but I usually have Seventh Heaven, but I don't know what I used on this one. A Hollow Vintage Verb, again, concert hall, again, just quite a long decay on the reverb. Let's have a listen to what that is doing.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders that you cried on before. And many promises, be honest girl, how many tears you let hit the floor. How many bags you packed just to take them back? Tell me that, how many even?
It's really important not to overthink these things, and because you can spend all day choosing reverb, but let's be honest, the listener really couldn't care less about what reverb or what reverb time you're using. That's my job. My job is to not make people go, oh, we used a 4-second decay reverb at that point and a 2-second, no one cares. But what I care about is how it kind of comes across in the track, and it's how people feel it, how people perceive the sound of what they're hearing. In this case, Niall has literally 60 seconds, or I think 90 seconds these days, on a reel on TikTok to really engage that kind of viewer and them to think he's amazing. And he is amazing and he's talented, and I wouldn't be able to do any of this without talent. So, I'm given the talent from him, and then I'm able to help him with his talent. So it works kind of, both ways. And so it's super important for me to just do all of the kind of the technical bits to make the listener have a certain feeling when they're hearing the song, and not necessarily caring about the technical parts. So I'm demonstrating the technical parts so you guys can kind of follow it. But my main point in all of this is you got to feel it more than care about what numbers are showing. That's what I'm trying to say. That was a really long way of saying it, but I hope you guys got it. And again, I'm just taking out some low end. I think I left that 8K on the preset, so that's all we did with that. And then I went into an 8th note delay, and I think with the delays, I think I had them automated. So if we go down to my delays, I had the delays. I did it on the kind of the actual returns instead of on the sends, just because it gave me a bit more kind of easier use of automation. So you can see here the 8th note delay comes in on the chorus. If we have a listen to how that actually comes in, let me just solo it from here.
Lonely girl, I saw so many pretty faces before I saw you. Now all I see is you. I'm coming for you. No, don't need this.
On the no, you heard there was a 1/8 note delay there, and then you also heard a quarter note come in.
I'm coming for you. No.
So these are, again, all feel things you wouldn't know. I love that part. I remember when I did that part, I was really excited about it. I know it's sad to get super excited about certain delay throws, but as an engineer, as a mixer, you really do care about this sort of stuff. So if we have a listen in context with the piano as well, and listen to that quarter note delay.
Now all I see is you. I'm coming for you. No, don't need this.
You can hear it just fills that gap between the transition of that chorus. And I've also then got a half note delay by the looks of things. Sorry, quarter note, but I've labeled it half. That's a mistake. Don't know why.
Either us, but no more. If you let me inside of your world.
And that's it. So, let's go back. So the 8th note delay, I'm using the Space Rider by Waves. Incredible plugin. It's got a delay, reverb, and a chorus on it, but I took the chorus off and I just used the delay. It's just a 1/8 dotted on this one with a little bit of reverb. And then I used a quarter note dotted again because it just flowed nicely with the track, and a little bit of delay and reverb on that as well. And then, as I mentioned previously, I just got the quarter note again, just played around with it. So they're the delays that are going on in the track, and then the half note or quarter note it is carries on going on to the outro. So you can see there's no quarter note delay going on until the post chorus, then that delay comes in. So if you have a listen,
it's gonna be one less lonely girl, one less lonely girl, one less lonely girl.
so you heard there, you know, one less lonely girl, one less lonely girl. I wanted that to kind of keep going. It keeps the momentum. You know, people are really going on their TikToks going like so quick, and you know, these small moves, they capture those moments. And if a delay throw in my eyes makes me feel happy, feel good, and I'm going to listen to that reel that little bit longer, that's going to help Niall out. So you know, that's what it's all about. So all these kind of small moves in the mixing process do make the difference. It's not about making something go from A to B, which is like, you know, a whole different piece of music. It's about taking the music that I'm sent or recorded and just finessing it. That's all this is. That was it for all the delays that I used in this track, I believe. That's basically it. So that's how kind of simple the vocal mix was. And then all these vocals go to an all vocal bus, and I'm just using the fresh air, just a little bit of boost of high end. Now you've got to be careful with high end because it can make things sound better. A bit like loudness can make things sound louder, but it's all about kind of ask yourself the question, does it actually sound good by being brighter? In this case, I think I originally had this on around 30, and then I was like, it does sound really good. But then I was like, it's a bit annoying to the ear. Let's just, you know, take it down. So what I did was I listened on a different day with fresh ears, and then I was like, because you'll find when you get ear fatigue, you boost this high end, you keep boosting it, and then you'll find that, you know, really, you know, you're kind of, it's like never ending. You just keep boosting a bit like loudness, and you realize actually you're just tired. And then you come back to it and you're like, oh, that's a bit bright. And that's what happened in this case. So if I just play the vocals and then boost it up, you'll hear what it's doing.
Lonely girl, one less lonely girl, one less lonely girl. It's gonna be one less lonely girl. I'm gonna put you first, and I'll show you what you're worth. You let me inside of your world. There'll be one less lonely girl.
And it's funny, like when I boosted that up there to like 30 or whatever it was, I went up to, like it did sound really good. And I listened back and I could have boosted it more, but no. You got to be careful. You got to, you know, push it up a little bit, then stop it, and then, you know, just kind of get a middle ground. That's what I like to say. So that's what I did there, and that was really the mix. And you know, one of the most important things, you know, I do have the mix bus going on. I've mentioned the mix bus before in other videos, so I won't get into that now. But you can check out my mix bus video. That is on the channel as well for you guys to have a look at. But one thing that I have done here, which is, you know, super important, and I think a lot of people kind of forget about this, is automation. I'm doing a lot of automation. You know, I've done compression, but, you know, to compensate of not compressing loads and killing that vocal, you know, I am doing subtle moves. If you have a look here, I use a little fader that I've got down here, which you guys can't see, and I'm just riding that vocal up. And I'm doing it on the VCA just because it's how I've got the template set up. So if we have a listen now to the automation that I've done on the volume rides, you can see on certain words. So let's take a listen.
Tears you let hit the floor. How many bags you packed just to take them back? Tell me that. How many either ors, but no more. If you let me inside of your world.
So you can see it's just in certain words, I'm just bringing that up. And this is the emotional part that I am talking about. The emotion is everything. It's on certain words. I'm lifting up his vocal and I'm bringing it back. I'm like leveling out the vocal even more. But in this case, I'm not necessarily leveling out the vocal to control it. I'm leveling it out to get that lyrical emotion, the one less lonely girl and all of that sort of stuff. You know, there's certain lyrics in the song that, you know, you want it to hit you. You want it to make your heart melt. You know, you want it to portray what the meaning of the song is. And by doing volume automation, you are hitting that listener that little bit kind of more, whether it's half a dB. I mean, you can see here, you know, I go from -1 to -0.6, so half a dB, but that half a dB move can make all the difference between a good mix and a great mix. And I'll say it again, a good mix and a great mix, they really do make the difference. So, you know, there is automation going on. You know, towards the end of the song gets bigger, the piano's dynamic. You would expect the song to kind of rise up and you have this kind of anthem kind of thing at the end, and that's the same kind of feeling that I'm trying to do, but I'm just doing it with volume and not necessarily with production and arrangement. It's more of a volume thing. So let's take a listen to the end.
You let me inside of your world. There'll be one less lonely girl.
You know, One Less Lonely Girl, I wanted that One Less Lonely Girl to really come through and push that kind of, that's the lyrical meaning of this song. So there you are. So that's the vocals, that's how I mix the vocal. Then lastly, we've just got the piano in the song, and that's it, it's just piano and vocals. So if we just take a look at what we got on the piano, we just got the Magma channel strip going on. Again, just boosted around 5K, and I think that's all I did. Oh, and I got a high pass at 60. I did literally nothing to the piano. It was played nicely, it sounded good, had great dynamics, played by a great piano player. So yeah, that's kind of the song. So if we have a listen with this plugin on and off on the piano, you'll hear what that's doing. And that's it. That is literally the piano. You know, I didn't process the piano. I didn't add any reverb. It already sounded good. So that's basically the piano, and I didn't do anything to it. So now let's go back up to the top. Let's go to the metric AB by plugin lines, and let's AB kind of the rough mix that we had at the end of the day, and then my final mix. So yeah, and then we can hear kind of the difference. So let's listen to my mix, and then I'm going to AB to the rough mix.
Many had soldiers and start overs and shoulders if you cried on before. And many promises, be honest girl, how many tears you let hit the floor. And many big bags you packed just to take them back. Tell me that, how many either ors, but no more. If you let me inside of your world, every one less lonely girl. Oh, I saw so many pretty faces before I saw you. Now all I see is you. I'm coming for you. No, don't need these other pretty faces. Like I need you. Where you're mine in the world. There's gonna be one less lonely girl. One less lonely girl. One less lonely girl. One less lonely girl. It's gonna be one less lonely girl. And I'm gonna put you first, and I'll show you what you're worth. You let me inside of your world. There'll be one less lonely girl.
So, you know, you can really hear there the difference between the rough mix and my final mix. You know, one makes me really excited, really happy, and the other one just sounds a bit kind of, like, it still sounds good. The demo was good. It, you know, as I say, it was recorded nicely. Niall's a great vocalist, but, you know, it's about feel, and you can really hear there the difference between that rough and that final, and that's the difference that I try and achieve on everything I work on. You know, I want that song to make me feel something, tell me something, and by doing all those subtle moves with the automation, the plugins that I've used, the clip gaining, the cleaning up the audio for, you know, clicks and pops and all of that sort of stuff, you know, they really do make the difference to the final mix. As I say, Niall comes to me for all of his social media stuff, for all of his music, and, you know, I give him something back that's going to affect the way that the listener feels about the song and hears him. And of course, Niall's talented, he's a good vocalist, you know, he's got a lot of talent there, and just by me kind of emphasizing the talent, how it comes across on the speakers, makes all the difference to him. So yeah, as I say, I'll leave a link to all of Niall's music and TikTok and social media stuff down below in the description for you guys to check out. Also, if you are interested in the mixing side of this, I do one-on-one mix consultations. So if you want to go on my website, you can book a consultation, and I can go down, you know, the whole process of the breakdown in more detail and more in depth as well. And that's it from me. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment if you've got any questions about the mix stuff, or, you know, anything, then do leave them down below, and I'll get back to all of you, and I'll see you again next week for another video.